In a firm and crystal clear stance, Egypt has reaffirmed its total rejection of any unilateral measures related to filling the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, calling for the need to reach a binding legal agreement on the rules of filling and operating the dam. The Egyptian stance was voiced by Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry in a phone call with the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres. Shoukry highlighted Ethiopia's unilateral actions towards the second filling of the GERD without reaching a legal binding agreement and the impact of such a stance on the stability and security of the region. The Egyptian foreign minister also stressed on the importance of the role of the UN and its agencies in contributing to resuming negotiations and reaching the required deal, as well as the role of the African Union in this regard. Shoukry sent letters to the UN Secretary-General, the UN Security Council Chief, and the President of the UN General Assembly explaining all the latest developments and the stages of negotiations. He also demanded that those letters be considered as official documents regarding the GERD issue. Egypt and Sudan reiterated the importance of coordinating efforts on the international, regional and African levels to press on Ethiopia to be engaged in serious negotiations in this regard. Earlier in March 2021, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi stated no one can take a drop of water from Egypt. If it happens, there will be inconceivable instability in the region that no one could imagine. This is not a threat. Sisi also affirmed that the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam negotiations path is usually hard and strenuous and needs patience and deliberation. Egypt rejected the Ethiopian unilateral plans to complete the Grand Dam, saying it reveals Ethiopia's bad intentions and efforts to undermine the ongoing mediation efforts. The Ethiopian Foreign Ministry said it plans to start generating power from GERD in the upcoming rainy season between June and August. The Ethiopian stance shows the desire to impose the fait accompli against the downstream countries, a matter that Egypt did not and will not accept. Ethiopia conducted its first filling in July 2020 with 5 billion cubic meters. The total capacity of the reservoir is 74 billion cubic meters to be filled over several years. Egypt, Ethiopia.
Right, welcome back, and back to you, Engineer Hassan. And we were speaking about the Ethiopian approach and how they are dealing with the matter. And my question was, is it a political matter or an important project or a national project, as said by the Ethiopian Prime Minister?
Let me put it this way. Definitely it's a political matter. And let me also add that this dam is not crucial to Ethiopia. It's not really a matter of life or death to Ethiopia. It is a dam that will produce electricity with you know, even if it was revised, the designs were revised, it could have actually still produced the same amount of electricity. But again, it is a political issue. Somebody is trying to build a glory, and on the account of other countries. Sudan had a number of floods last year, and we're still in the process.
Because of the first filling.
Definitely, yes.
And it was just 5 billion cubic meters, and we're speaking about this second filling, which will be 13.
13 and a half, yes. And I think, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed is not really behaving according, to a man who was awarded a Nobel Prize. I mean, a man who was awarded a Nobel Prize should have been more wise and a peace-loving person. I think what's happening is, he's provoking Egypt, he's provoking Sudan. And adding to this, this dam is being built over Sudanese soil, by the way. There is a dispute over the
Shafaq area.
So actually the whole thing is a little bit complicated, and we need the interference of the international community before it's too late.
Exactly. And this is what Egypt has been doing, and Egypt sent the United Nations Security Council a letter revealing the whole situation here to members of the Security Council and how Egypt has dealt so far with the situation. Let me here take your reading to this letter sent by Egypt to the UN Security Council.
This is our, last try to get the attention of the international community, because we have a fair case.
No, we're not speaking about the last try, but rather the legal, or by law, we are sending to the UN Security Council, which is the council that is assigned with the international or security of the whole world, part of the United Nations, which is an international body. So we're acting according to law. Please.
We are. Actually, we taken this case to the Security Council, and I think we're going to have to accelerate, because we're facing a time issue. The second filling of the dam will start within few days, and I think we are behaving in a legal way. I mean, this is a decent attitude so far, and we are asking the international community to get involved and pay enough attention to what's happening.
What is Egypt asking exactly?
We do not mind really the construction of the dam, because this is the Ethiopians are, but the filling of the lake behind the dam, this is the issue, because Egypt depends on the rainfall in this particular time, starting July, August, and September. This water, renovate our reserves in the Aswan lake. We get additional water, and this is, this secures our needs for water. So if you actually prevent this water from coming to Egypt, we're going to have a problem. Unless we get our share of this flood, it will be a problem on the long run. Within few years, the Aswan lake will actually be exposed to droughts. I mean, evaporation and so forth. We're going to lose a lot of water from this lake, and we cannot really produce electricity after that, because if the depth of water in the lake behind the dam will get lower than a certain level, our turbines will not be able to produce electricity.
Before I ask you about the response so far of the international community, because we have asked before for the mediation of the United States, of the United Nations, of the European Union, plus the African Union, but all those other three were refused by the Ethiopian side, except for the African Union. But let me here take another step that was taken today. There has been this important meeting in Doha, in the Qatari capital, where they are speaking about a number of important files, mainly the Palestinian issue, plus the Arab Common Work and other Arab files, but also an extraordinary one over the dread.
The dispute, yes.
Yes. How do you view the position of the Arab world regarding this issue, particularly after Egypt explained its position?
Actually, the Arab countries, or particularly most of the Arab countries, are supporting us. But there is a situation where some of the Gulf countries are financing this dam, actually. And
They were.
They actually still finance the dam, and they have huge projects in Ethiopia. And I don't mind really. This is strictly business between Ethiopia and these countries. But again, this should not be on the behalf of the Egyptians. I mean, you could develop your country, you could have projects and everything, but we're not going to pay for that. We're going to pay dearly for that if our brothers, and I think there is efforts from our brothers in the Gulf who are financing this dam to try to coordinate between us and Ethiopia. But so far, we didn't see any positive reactions from the Ethiopian side. We are controlling ourselves. We are trying to behave in a very wise and rational way. But again, the several visits that were paid to leaders from neighboring countries that are financing this dam, visited Egypt, and I think the issue of the dam was on the table because this is the issue number one today for Egyptians, but we didn't see really any positive reactions yet from the Ethiopian side to make us feel that these visits and these negotiations that our brothers from the Gulf actually have made paid fruitful results.
Last year, the U.S. previous regime interfered by itself in such a matter. This year, U.S. President Joe Biden made a phone call to President Sisi, and they reviewed the developments of the Ethiopian dam, and according to reports, President Biden highlighted Washington's acknowledgement of the critical nature of this issue for the Egyptian people, indicating that he is dedicated to supporting Egypt's water security. How do you view the U.S. position towards the issue? Can the U.S. really pressure Ethiopia, or at least convince Ethiopia of a balanced position towards the issue, or a binding agreement that would guarantee the interest of the three countries as always proposed by Egypt?
Let me put it this way. The U.S. is fully aware of the situation, whether the Trump's administration, the Biden's administration. I would like to highlight something. I think there is an office or a department in the U.S. aid program in Egypt called the River Nile Department. And this department is very concerned with anything that have something to do with the River Nile. So the U.S. is fully aware of the situation. And in my humble opinion, I should have expected that the U.S. will have a better effect on the negotiations that took place a few months ago. Africa is very rich with water resources, and I think if the U.S. proposes a water management program to control and utilize the water resources in this area to its utmost effect, it will be beneficial. Meaning, I think if all of these countries actually share a satellite that actually controls all the dams and the reservoirs on the different rivers in the Great Lakes area and in Ethiopia, in south of Sudan, Congo, whatever. This satellite will control in a very neutral way the amounts of water discharged to each country.
We have seen lately here a special envoy, a U.S. special envoy that was assigned by the U.S. new administration, Mr. Jeffrey Feltman,
Yeah.
who was in Cairo and who toured the Horn of Africa. And he said that the U.S. is keen to help support all parties to find a comprehensive settlement. How do you view the work of the U.S. envoy so far?
Few months ago, I in this particular program, I said the U.S. will guarantee a ceasefire in Libya in few days, and it was flammable over there at that time, and it happened. The U.S. is capable of doing anything they want.
But the U.S. was
But
not
so
behind
far-
the ceasefire.
Well, the U.S. is capable of solving
In
the
Libya, I
problem
mean.
and imposing a fair deal to all these parties. This is my opinion. So far, the U.S. is not really doing what the Egyptians expected from them.
If we have reviewed together how Egypt acted so far regarding the issue, Egypt has been taking a very wise approach up to this minute. How do you view how Egypt dealt so far with the situation, and what do we request from the international community at large?
To continue our logic efforts, we actually ask the international community to have a committee that can supervise the filling of the dam. That's simple, as step number one, filling the dam over a span of 7 years. This is very simple request. If the rainfall rate was high and it filled the lake behind the dam earlier, good for Ethiopia. We pray for them to have their, this amount of water. But again, we cannot really gamble and assume things that could happen or not happen. So we need to control our amount of water that comes from the Blue Nile, full stop. And we reject the idea of somebody trying to close the tap.
Right, indeed. Remains to be seen how matters will develop in the next upcoming periods. Engineer Hassan Shaaban, political analyst, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you. Dear viewers, many thanks for watching. Tomorrow will be another important debate with another colleague. Good night.